Hello and happy Monday. This is Janet Leonard. I'm with Virtual Instructor, and today is our Monday Live. Today I'm going to talk about how to record macros using Microsoft Word. Then I'll show you how to put them on the quick access toolbar and also how to customize your ribbon to have your macros. So let's go ahead and take a look over. We'll start with a little housekeeping. You can find our information over at virtualinstructor.com. And if you want to see what the upcoming events are for our lives, you can go to the calendar of topics, and then you can sign up so you get a reminder if you'd like. We're not going to inundate you with emails. It's just a once a week reminder, and then we'll just show you the topics that we're covering, and then you can watch some of our replays as well. All right, let's jump into Microsoft Word. And I'll go ahead and change the view so you can see it more as a page width. Now, when you're working with macros, I'm going to show you how you can record macros, but you can also write macros if you want as well. Now, we're just going to talk about recording macros. So hi, James, and hi, Terry, and okay, James. And so we're going to talk about just some simple ways to record macros. So if you haven't recorded a macro before, Microsoft Word records a lot of what you can do. Now, some of the things require a little more advanced, but I'm going to show you some of the more basics. So if you have certain things that you have that you format all the time, that sort of thing. So first thing I'm going to do is make it really easy so I have some text to play with. So if you've watched any of my lives before, you can just type in equal rand, open and close parentheses. And then when you hit the enter key, it gives you sample text that you can play with. So in case you're testing things out. Now we're going to go ahead and write a macro that will automatically make a drop cap for a paragraph. And we'll go back up to the View tab, and over toward the right, you'll see an option for macros. Now there are two parts of it. So if I hover over the lower portion, this is where you can record your macro. So once you put in the record mode, then it's going to memorize everything that you do. And that's where you may find sometimes some of the things you want to do, it doesn't let you record. That's when you need to get a little more advanced in writing macros. But most of the time, if you're doing editing, formatting type things, it's going to work beautifully. So I'm going to turn on the macro. So I'll click on record macro. And then you can call it whatever you want. There's just a few rules. You can't start it out with a number, and you cannot use spaces. So I'm going to be really creative and call it drop cap. And then if you want to assign it to a keyboard shortcut, then you can click on keyboard, and then over here you can press the key combination that you want. Now I'm going to press one. I'm thinking if it's a drop cap, maybe we do Control D, right? So if I hold down the Control key and tap the letter D, it does actually tell you that that's currently assigned to something, format font. So I'm thinking, I don't think I want to use that one. So a little trick is usually Alt and the letter is not assigned. So I'll do Alt D, and notice it comes up currently assigned to, and it says unassigned. So I think that's a good one to use. I recommend you don't overwrite any of the predefined shortcuts. Then you can just click assign. And so now this is the current keystroke that will be associated with our little macro called drop cap. Then we simply choose close. And at this point, notice the mouse pointer changes, and it's got like a little cassette recorder. That's to indicate that you are now recording a macro. So we happen to be at the beginning of a paragraph, which is perfect. I'm just going to go up to insert. And then I don't know if you've ever done this, but way toward the far right, there's something in the text group, and it's called drop cap. Now, it's possible, I'm not going to do this because I'm recording the macro, but it's possible your ribbon might just show it as a tiny little icon. So I'm going to click on it, and there's a couple different options. But for this example, we're going to go down to the drop cap options. And when I click on that, it gives me several different options. So I'm going to choose this one that's going to be dropped, but I only want it to go down 2 lines instead of 3 lines. And then I want the distance from the text to be about 1/10 of an inch. So you can customize it. And all it's doing is recording everything that I told it to do. I'll choose OK, and it applied our drop cap, which is nice. All right, now I can stop recording. So I can go back up to view. And this is one of the things, if you forget to stop recording, it's recording everything, right? So you can always redo it. You can delete it and then re-record. But I'll go back to the lower portion of macros and you see it says stop recording. So I'll click on stop recording and we just recorded our first macro. So I'm thinking another one that's kind of fun is maybe you want to do some kind of a quote, and there's actually a style for applying quotes, and we're going to tweak it a teeny bit. So let's go back over. I'll go back to macros and I'll go back to that lower portion, and I'm going to record a second macro. So when I click on record, I get to call it whatever I want. I'll be really creative and call this quote. And then let's go to the keyboard. You don't have to do a keyboard shortcut, but it's kind of nice to have. So I'm going to click on keyboard and I'm just going to do Alt Q because pretty much Alt in any letter is usually not assigned. So I've got that. I want to assign it to this macro and then I'll choose close. And now again, I'm in that recording mode. You can see the shape of the mouse pointer. Now, it's a good idea to kind of run through this before you record your macro because remember, it's recording everything. So I just happen to know that we want to go to the Home tab. And then in styles, if you click the little drop down, there is a style called intense quote. And that's the one I want to apply. So I'll click on that and now see how it applied that quote. And then maybe we want to do a drop cap in here as well. So let's go back to the insert tab and then I'll go way over to the right. And again, if your ribbon is, or your monitor is smaller, it has a lower resolution, you might just see this icon with the A that looks like a drop cap. But I'll click on this and this time I'm just going to choose this default one. And then I'm going to stop recording. So I'll go back up to view, I'll go back to macros and I'll stop recording. The hardest part of this is remembering to stop recording. Alrighty, so now let's go ahead and I'll move to one of these other paragraphs. And remember I did Alt D for the drop. So I'll hold down the Alt key, I'll tap the letter D and look how quickly I was able to apply that. And then I did Alt Q for the quote. So I can hold down the Alt key and tap the letter Q and look how quickly I was able to apply that. So hopefully this is giving you some ideas that there are certain things that you might do quite often and you think, yeah, I don't want to have to do this every single time. So you can record it as a macro. But now I'm just going to do Control N and that simply gives me a new document. That's all it does. It's a shortcut. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but up toward the top of your screen, it might be below, depending on if you've worked on this or not, there's something called the Quick Access Toolbar. So if I click on that, oh, good, I'm glad you like this. So if I click on that, it gives you a drop down and you can add lots of things to your Quick Access Toolbar. So if you want to quickly go to Print Preview, you could just click on that and now it's added and it just quickly takes you to Print Preview. But we're going to customize it. So we're going to click on the drop down and we're going to go down to this option that says More Commands. And when you click on that, if you haven't been here before, this is a place where you can customize your Quick Access Toolbar. So over here is the command I just added, the Print Preview and Print. And there you can add any of these commands you want. But if you want to find your macros, you go to where it says Popular Commands and you click on the drop down and you go down to macros. And when you click on macros, it shows you any macros that you've written. So let's go ahead and add the drop cap macro. So all I did was click on it, add it, and then I'm going to add the quote macro. Now I'm going to choose OK right now because I want you to see what happens if you just simply add it as a macro. When I choose OK, notice up toward the top, we have two extra little icons. These are the shortcuts to run those macros, but it's kind of hard to tell what they are unless we hover over them. So I'm going to show you how you can change the little symbol that's associated with the macro. So I'll click on this little drop down again and go back down to More Commands. Now that we have something in our little list over here, you can do a single click on it. And then down toward the bottom, you'll see there's a button that says Modify. So I can just click on Modify, and then it brings up a bunch of little symbols for you to choose from. So, you know, there aren't that many, and they might not be the perfect symbol, but I'm thinking let's go ahead and for this one, let's just choose how about how about just this blue, right? Or we'll make it blue. We'll make that. And then if you want the display name, if you don't want it to say normal dot new macro dot drop cap, I'm not going to go into what all that means right now. Just delete the part you don't want. So I just want it to say drop cap and then choose OK. And then you can do the same thing for the quote. So I'll select that. I'll choose modify, and I'll just do the smiley face for this one. And I'll get rid of those extras. Well, I'll leave that on there so you get to see. I'll choose OK. And then I can choose OK. And now I've got the two different macros up there. And if I hover over, see the one that I didn't change the name has that longer name. And the one where I changed the name, modified it, it has a shorter name. Okay, I'm going to do that same thing, equal RAND, open, close parentheses, hit enter so that I get my nice, quick, easy text to play with. And we'll just move to the first one, and I'll click on the blue, which is the one to do the drop cap. And then I'll click on the second paragraph, and I'll click on the smiley face, and there's my quote. So hopefully this gives you some ideas on how you can quickly save some of the things you use onto your quick access toolbar. So you're not limited just to macros. You can go back and look at all the other commands that you can add. So the last thing that I'll show you is how to customize the ribbon. So you have all these tabs here on the ribbon. I don't recommend that you modify anything on an existing tab that comes with Word, but I'm going to show you how easy it is to add your own custom tab. And then you can add whatever kind of commands you use a lot. So you don't have to keep going back from insert to layout to review. You can put them all in one spot. And you can also add your macros. So if you're anywhere on this ribbon, all you have to do is click the right mouse button. And this time you go to Customize Ribbon. So the thing up here is called the Quick Access Toolbar, and this is called the ribbon. So we'll customize the ribbon, and it looks very similar to what we just saw. By the way, see, you can go back and forth. That's Quick Access Toolbar. Here's Customize Ribbon. Now over on the ribbon, I'm going to do a single click on View because I want my new little tab to be toward the end. And you can always move things up and down with these little buttons. But real creative, I'm going to click on New Tab. And then I can click in here, and instead of calling it New Tab, I can rename it. And I'm going to call it My Shortcuts. So you can call it anything you want. Here you can have spaces. Then inside any tab, you always have at least one group. So I'm going to rename this group, and I'm just going to call it Macros. And then choose OK. So you can call it anything you want, right? Then all you have to do is I want now to put some commands in that tiny little group. So I go back to the drop down just like we did with Quick Access Toolbar, and I'll go find macros. And then here's the two macros. So I'm going to add, I'll add it in, I can go different order. It doesn't matter. I'll add the quote, and then I'll add the drop cap. But I want to change that little icon. So I'm going to go to the first one, quote. I'll choose rename. I'm going to get rid of that long name and just have it called quote. And then I can pick a different icon if I wanted, but I think for my memory, it might be nice to use the same one. So I'll choose the little blue square. Actually, I think the quote I did a smiley face. And then I'll choose OK. And then I'll go to the drop cap, and I can rename that. Again, I think it's nicer not to have all those extra words in there. And then I think we made that a blue square. Choose OK. I'll choose OK now. And notice on our ribbon, we now have a new tab called My Shortcuts. So if I click on that, now we have our same little macros. So you can put them on the Quick Access Toolbar, and or you can create your own custom tab on your ribbon. So I'll just move on down, and I'll move to this chapter, this paragraph here. I'll choose quote. There it is. And I'll move to the other one, and I'll do drop cap. So hopefully that gives you some ideas of different ways that you can use macros in Microsoft Word. So remember, it doesn't work for everything, but if you're doing editing and formatting, it's pretty easy. So basically, you move to wherever you want to get started, right? If you don't want to select something, you might want to select it ahead of time and then start recording the movement so that whatever you select, whenever you run your macro, it does it to your selection. Or in the case where it's something that affects an entire paragraph, just move to the beginning of the paragraph, then start recording. And then hopefully you got some ideas on how you could add it to your quick access toolbar, and go back and check it out because you can add other commands there too. And you can also customize your ribbon. So thanks so much for attending today's Monday Live. I'm going to pop back over to the spreadsheet or to our website for just a second and show you that next week, I'm going to show you some tips on formatting pictures in in PowerPoint. So there's a lot of formatting tools. Once you see how those work, they basically work the same in most of the other programs. And then in February, I'm going to show you some social media tools that will really just make it so much easier for you, give you insight to publishing and things like that. Well, thank you so much for attending this Monday Live. I hope you have a wonderful week and hope to see you next week. Thanks. Bye.